Hey yo, what's going on with the viewers of the tube? Tyler here of Chicocrypto, coming to you for a candid video to start this week in my beautiful backyard. It's a nice day here in California, and it's not a bad day for Bitcoin. Even though we are having a macroeconomic tsunami, yet Bitcoin is holding its head above the water. Early morning, Bitcoin hit about a low of 18.7K, but as of right now, it's sitting above 19K. So I'm sure you saw the title of this video, Bank Run, the biggest one this world has ever seen, the biggest in history, and it's beginning. Well, I'm talking about a full-scale bank run of all fiat currencies. So to begin this episode, we need to talk about, the most important one, the one in the news the most right now, and that is the British pound. So the British pound dropped to never before seen lows against the US dollar. I think it got down to about 1.03. It's bounced back a little bit. It's at about 1.07, but this is the lowest the British pound has ever been against the US dollar. And this began last Friday and over the weekend as basically the British government released a budget plan which spooked people far and wide. So basically the UK government said that they were going to, hold interest rates, low. They're going to tax cut, and basically they're going to try and spark the economy, get it rumbling again. But as you can see, the markets did not like that, as their currency is collapsing. And there is a genuine risk of a full currency run if the UK doesn't get this sorted this week. So they are already trying to get it sorted. The Bank of England, BOE, is rumored to be stepping in and intervening. They're going to be having an emergency meeting today, probably within the next couple of hours, regarding what their plan is to save their currency from a full-on collapse. So you guys, it's not only the British pound, it's actually all currencies across the globe. Last week, before all this week it's the pound. Last week it was actually the Japanese yen. The Japanese yen was collapsing late last week, and their government had to step in. So basically what the Japanese government ended up doing is they're basically selling US treasuries or US stockpiles of dollars in the markets to prop up their yen, which it didn't work. It stopped the collapse, but how far is this going to go? So regarding Japan, yeah, their yen is collapsing, a close American ally. UK, their currency is collapsing, close American ally. But it's also the whole Eurozone. As we know, the euro has been collapsing. I think we're at a 24-year low for the yen, a 20-year low for the euro, and basically currencies across the board except the US dollar and Russian ruble are collapsing. So what is going to happen, you guys? Well, as fiat currencies start to collapse, people are going to be weary of holding their money within banks and just holding their country's currency. So they are going to withdraw that currency, trying to get it into more stable assets. Stability in this world right now is US dollar, Russian ruble, those currencies we talked about. Of course, American allies aren't going to be holding Russian ruble. They're going to be going with the US dollar. So that is why we're seeing the US dollar, pumping like mad. The DXY, the dollar index, is trading like a low cap crap coin right now. It is literally going parabolic as the fears of these currency collapses start to spread like a contagion. Now, a lot of people are like, but Tyler, you know, you're talking about a full-on worldwide bank run, you know, that includes US dollar. Well, the collapse is going to follow a pattern, you know. Of course, we're probably going to see, in my opinion, the yen collapse first, and then possibly the euro, and then the pound, and then the Chinese yuan, and then all that wealth is going to transfer into the USD. But the US dollar has been doing their own fiat Ponzi scheme of just printing money, printing treasuries, selling them to these countries. Well, as their currencies start to collapse, these countries, which is already happening, are going to start selling their US treasuries to defend their currency. And this is basically the tipping point, you guys. As, you know, their currencies really start to freaking fall, the dollar isn't going to rise forever, especially as, you know, countries that hold the biggest US debt, like China and like Japan, start extremely defending their currency. I think over the past year, 3% of US treasuries held by China have been sold. You know, now imagine what happens when 3% of what they hold, and I mean, I'm talking it's trillions of dollars that China holds. What happens when 3% is sold in one day? We're going to see a very, very strong reversal in the dollar. As the dollars collapse, the contagion spreads into the dollar. So what happens, you know, after, you know, they try to defend, it doesn't work, you know, and then the dollar collapse starts happening? Well, people are going to run into other assets. Of course, you know, people can get into gold, and I have a feeling gold is probably going to rise. Not like substantially, but pretty well, you know, as this begins. I mean, it's already happening, but as it really ramps up, this week's going to be very interesting for gold. But also, what's easier than getting into gold? And what's worldwide, you know, what's completely, you know, doesn't matter who you are, where you are in the world, you can get it pretty easily and pretty fast. Well, of course, that is Bitcoin. So, I still have a feeling, you know, macroeconomic, you know, bad news is going to affect Bitcoin in the short term. I still have a feeling we haven't hit our Bitcoin bottom. Once we get some really bad news regarding, you know, the US dollar and the US economy, and the Fed has to get a lot more aggressive, Bitcoin is going to be hit. But eventually, as you know, people lose faith in their own currencies, and then in the US dollar, as its reversal starts happening, people are going to be looking for those alternative assets. Of course, like I said, gold is one, but gold has, you know, such a bigger, higher market cap than Bitcoin. I think a lot of people will be like, oh, maybe I should put in, you know, some money into Bitcoin. So I do think Bitcoin is going to start having its reversal towards the end of the year. I think the bottom is going to come sometime in the next week and a half to, I'd say 3 weeks, sometime in early to mid-October, and then it's going to be pretty boring, you know, but by the end of the year and into 2023, I think Bitcoin is going to slowly start climbing up as people start, you know, looking for alternative wealth storages that aren't based on the trust of the government. Because as we know, you know, fiat currencies, they aren't backed by anything anymore. They are literally just backed by the trust you have in that government. And people are starting to lose trust with their governments across the globe. There's no doubting that. And what we have coming up too with November elections, that's also going to be very interesting and could, you know, signal Bitcoin to start moving, especially if things change regarding Republicans and Democrats. Even though they're one and the same, it could have an effect on Bitcoin. So you guys, beware. I mean, it's pretty much obvious. If you look at what's happening in the macro currency climate, fiat currencies are collapsing against the US dollar. Everything's going to move into the US dollar, and then the US dollar is going to collapse. The end of fiat currencies is here. The biggest bank run in history is here. Cheers, viewers. I'll see you next time.